Ramon had been a forest ranger in Uttarakhand for 11 years. He had seen bear encounters, leopard tracks, the occasional cobra on a trail. But the report that crossed his desk in March 2019 was different. It was not about an animal that had wandered too close to a village. It was about an animal that had come back to the same village, on the same night of the week, 4 times in a row. That is not a startled predator. That is a hunting pattern. And it is the exact behavior that separates the 6 animals in this video from every other predator on the planet. Most animal attacks on humans are accidents. Wrong place, wrong time, a mother protecting cubs, a predator that panicked. The animals in this video are different. These are documented cases where individual animals, or entire populations, identified humans as a food source and came back deliberately, repeatedly, with a level of tactical consistency that researchers have had to describe using the same language they use for human planning. Start with the panther leopard of Kumaon. Jim Corbett, the hunter and naturalist whose accounts are some of the most detailed predator documentation in colonial-era India, tracked this animal across the Kumaon Hills starting in 1910. What made the panther leopard different from every other man-eater Corbett had encountered was its methodology. This was not a leopard attacking people who entered its territory. This was a leopard entering human territory, walking into villages at night, bypassing livestock entirely, and specifically targeting people. Over 4 years, across multiple villages in the Kumaon region, this single animal killed more than 400 people. 400. Confirmed. Documented in Corbett's field accounts, which were later cross-referenced with district mortality records from the period. Corbett organized hunting parties. The leopard avoided them, not by fleeing the area, but by shifting to adjacent villages while the hunting party was active, then returning when they left. That is not instinct. That is learned evasion of a specific threat combined with maintained hunting behavior in the same geographic zone. Corbett described it as the most tactically difficult animal he had ever pursued, and he had hunted tigers. The panther leopard was finally shot in 1910, but not before fundamentally changing how colonial-era wildlife researchers thought about predator learning capacity. Now move to 1898. Kenya. The Tsavo River. The Uganda Railway construction project had brought thousands of workers from across the British Empire to build a bridge over the Tsavo River, one of the most ambitious infrastructure projects of the colonial period. Within weeks of construction starting, 2 lions began hunting the workers. Not opportunistically, systematically. Colonel John Henry Patterson, the engineer overseeing the project, documented in precise detail how the 2 lions, both males, both unusually large, and notably maneless for Tsavo lions, developed a specific operational approach. They hunted at night. They targeted the edges of camps. They learned which tents were occupied and which were storage. When Patterson set traps, they walked around them. When he built thorn bush enclosures called bomas around the camp perimeter, they found the gaps or pushed through. Over 9 months, the 2 lions killed an estimated 135 workers. The number is debated. Some researchers put it lower, around 35 confirmed kills, with higher estimates reflecting missing workers whose fates were undocumented. But what is not debated is that construction on the Uganda Railway halted completely for 3 weeks because workers refused to continue. 2 animals stopped an imperial infrastructure project. Patterson eventually killed both lions. Their bodies were purchased by the Field Museum in Chicago in 1924, where they remain on display today, the only man-eating lions in a permanent museum collection anywhere in the world. Skull analysis conducted in 1998 by University of California researchers found isotopic evidence suggesting the 2 lions had consumed a significant number of humans, with estimates ranging from 35 to 72 individuals based on bone chemistry analysis, making them the most forensically verified man-eating predators in recorded history. Third, Gustav. If the Tsavo lions represent the most documented historical case, Gustav represents the most documented modern one. Gustav is a Nile crocodile in Burundi, first identified and named by French herpetologist Patrice Fay in the mid-1990s. By 2004, Fay's field research had attributed an estimated 300 human kills to this single animal. Gustav is physically unusual, estimated at 18 feet in length and over a ton in weight, making him one of the largest crocodiles ever documented in the wild. But size alone does not explain his kill count. What Fay documented was behavioral specificity. Gustav targeted humans on the banks of Lake Tanganyika and the Rusizi River with a frequency that could not be explained by random predatory opportunity. Faye attempted to trap Gustav in 2004 using a large cage baited with live animals, filmed for the documentary Capturing the Killer Croc. Gustav was never caught. He investigated the trap, did not enter it, and was filmed approaching and retreating from it multiple times. As of the last confirmed sighting reports in the early 2020s, Gustav has not been killed or captured. He is still out there. Fourth, the Bengal tigers of the Sundarbans. The Sundarbans is the largest mangrove delta on Earth, straddling the border between Bangladesh and India, and it is home to an estimated 400 to 500 Bengal tigers. It is also the only tiger habitat in the world where tigers systematically hunt humans as a primary prey category. A 2019 Bangladesh government report confirmed 50 to 60 human kills annually in the Bangladeshi sector of the Sundarbans alone. Researchers studying the behavior have documented something that does not occur in any other tiger population. Sundarbans tigers specifically follow fishing boats. Honey collectors and fishermen who enter the delta in small boats have been pulled from vessels by tigers that approach silently from the water. The tigers have learned that boats mean humans, and humans in boats are more accessible than deer in dense mangrove. This is prey-switching behavior, deliberately shifting from a natural prey base to humans. And it is not exhibited by tiger populations anywhere else in the world, including populations under similar resource pressure. The behavioral difference between Sundarbans tigers and every other Bengal tiger population is so pronounced that wildlife researchers have proposed it represents a genuine regional cultural behavior, learned hunting strategy passed between tigers across generations in that specific ecosystem. Ramon, when he read the Sundarbans research, said it out loud at his desk. They taught each other. Fifth, the saltwater crocodiles of Australia's Northern Territory. Australia has documented a specific pattern in saltwater crocodile behavior that goes beyond individual man-eaters like Gustav. Northern Territory wildlife records show repeated cases of individual crocodiles identifying populated waterways, boat ramps, swimming areas, fishing spots, and returning to those locations over multi-year periods. One documented case in the Darwin region involved a single crocodile that was relocated 3 times to remote areas over a 4-year period. Each time, it returned to the same populated waterway. Saltwater crocodiles have a documented homing ability and territorial memory that allows them to navigate hundreds of kilometers of coastline. But what the Northern Territory cases show is something additional. These animals were not just returning to their home territory. They were returning specifically to the locations where human activity was highest, locations that were not their original capture sites, but sites they had identified as productive hunting grounds before their first removal. That is target selection. That is a crocodile learning where the food is and treating that location as a resource worth navigating back to. Sixth, the bull shark. Every other animal on this list is a large, apex predator operating in its natural environment. The bull shark belongs on this list for a completely different reason. Bull sharks are the only shark species that can survive indefinitely in freshwater. They have specialized kidneys that allow them to osmoregulate between salt and fresh water, and documented populations have been found hundreds of miles up river systems, in the Amazon, the Zambezi, the Mississippi, and the Ganges. In 1916, a series of shark attacks on the New Jersey coast killed 4 people and injured 1. The attacks were unusual enough that they contributed directly to the cultural mythology around shark danger, and eventually, a century later, to the making of Jaws. But the detail most people do not know is that the most lethal attack in the series did not happen in the ocean. It happened in Matawan Creek, a tidal freshwater creek 5 miles inland from the coastline. A single shark navigated from the ocean into a tidal creek system, traveled 5 miles inland, and attacked 3 people in a waterway where nobody had any reason to fear sharks. 2 of those 3 people died. NOAA records and multiple subsequent analyses, including work published in the journal Copia, have attributed the creek attacks to a bull shark operating in freshwater, the first documented case of a shark hunting humans in a non-marine environment. The lesson is not that these 6 animals are uniquely evil or uniquely dangerous. The lesson is that across species, across continents, across a century of documented cases, individual animals, and in the Sundarbans, entire regional populations, have demonstrated the capacity to identify humans as prey, develop tactical approaches to hunting them, and maintain that behavior over months and years. That is not instinct responding to threat. That is learning. That is adaptation. That is predation with memory. Ramon eventually tracked down the leopard that had been returning to that Uttarakhand village. It was a young male. Healthy. No injury that would have forced it onto easier prey. It had simply learned.